Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Living Freestyle Game Dev live stream. My name's Kevin. We do this twice a week. This works. We're working with Unreal Engine, Blueprint, scripting, visual scripting, all kinds of stuff. Camera's a little bit jacked up today because we're still working on system issues, so I'm extra large. Like I said, my name's Kevin, and we do this twice a week. We do this Sunday nights and Wednesday mornings, and the idea here is it works like office hours. Come in, ask questions, hang out, basically anything to do with Unreal, Blueprints, game dev, etc. We'll stumble through those together. Currently, I work as a tech artist at Riot Games and R&D. I get to do a lot of really cool stuff at the day job, but there's a ton of stuff because Unreal Engine is so deep that I don't get a chance to do, and this gives me an opportunity to work through those. If there are no questions, that's not a problem. What I'll do to fill the time is I'm working on towards my own working prototype in a game. And I went through the chat from I went through the comments from previous streams. I didn't see any questions or anything like that. It doesn't look like we have any in the chat so far this morning, so we're going to pick up where we left off. And that was in Unreal Engine. And what we were looking at was we were trying to implement a parry ability. The ability for our character to block, basically. And the reason I wanted that, and the reason I want that is because I want combat to feel purposeful. And I don't want this to feel like an Unreal tournament, like one of the old school Unreal tournament type experiences where you're just constantly running backwards shooting, hoping that you get the headshot first. So let's get back right kind of where we left off, or actually not where we left off. I made a little bit of progress after the stream. Let's open up our parry ability. We're going to need to clean this up, but basically what I found was that I needed to apply the game effect. How did I do that? So I was applying the game effect on damage, and I moved it so that it happened right away when the ability happened, and we're probably gonna have to play with the timing of this window a little bit. Good morning, Diamond. Welcome to the stream. I'm glad you finally made it. It's cool to see you. It'd be interesting to see overall if people think that there would be better time slots. We try to do the 8 a.m. and the 8 a.m. and basically the morning and the evening slots to give people in different time zones an opportunity to hop in. So at some point we'll see what everybody thinks about that. Holy smokes. Okay, cool. So Alexander's asking a question. Not be pizza, but I'm running a game jam with some other folks. We are collaborating with specific time slots to do our work. Any suggestions for running something like that? Okay, so Sundays are too late. Your Eastern time. But the Wednesday mornings work for you all. Okay, so I've done a bunch of game jams, a couple Thunderdome things. I think I'm trying to think of, the trick is you all are in different places. Look, I think the easiest, I don't know if I have any super profound suggestions with that. I think probably the biggest one would be, how many people do you have? And I would consider using perforce. You need a way to collaborate, and you need a way to back out changes that people have made that potentially break things. And so I can think of a couple different ways that you have, a couple different options you have at your disposal. I know this is going to sound nuts, but Dropbox Business is pretty awesome from a standpoint of giving your creatives and end users the ability to collaborate without having to do a lot of thinking and overhead work. Why is Dropbox Business different? There's a couple different reasons around it. And I've set up entire productions that work with Dropbox Business. The reason it's different is, first off, it's unlimited space, I believe. It's some crazy amount of space. You're not going to worry about filling it with a game jam. The other thing is it provides automatic syncing. So if everybody's working under the same account, you have the same, everybody has that stuff mapped to the same drive. Hold on one second. You don't have to worry about your pathing issues. And as a result of that, it makes it easier just to work quickly. So that's one thing. The other thing is, if I make a change, it's automatically syncing on the fly. The trick with that though is apologize, I don't know what's going on there. The trick with that though is there's no way for you to know somebody else is working on the same blueprint. So you would have to be really communicative about who's working on what in that case. But the other cool thing about Dropbox Business is it has historical, it keeps a history of your files. A lot like Perforce or SVN does, but without checking files in and out. So you can go back in time if somebody breaks something and you can get it. So if you're working with a fairly segregated team in the sense that one person's doing art, one person's doing engine, and one person's doing engineering, that might work. All right. If not, I think it's worth it to figure out a Dropbox or an SVN type setup, because otherwise you're going to be stomping on each other's work. And now Perforce is free, I think, for the first 5 users. So depending on how big your game jam is, that would be it. So some way to basically, for you all to stay in sync is kind of like the short answer for that. I think that's going to be an important part of it. And taking the time to set that up will save you time later for sure. Trying to think about other things. Is this going to spread over multiple days, like a long period of time, or is this like a quick 48-hour game jam, Thunderdome type thing? Six folks. Well, that's a lot. Okay. I don't know why, but whenever I look at LOL, I still think of it as lots of laughs because I didn't understand that stuff. But anyways, oh, they haven't each, OneDrive might work. I don't know enough about OneDrive. I haven't looked at it. I think the overall point though, or the big thing is making sure you're all working from the same mapped drive. So everybody is using the Z drive or the V drive, whatever you want. And there's different ways to do that. You can name the drive, but if people don't have the same drive because you don't have similar computers, there's a tool out there. I think it's called vsubst. Let's see here, vsubst. I think it was what it was, .exe, something like that. Careful when you look for it. But Jackson, you made a great point, but how does that affect LeBron's legacy? Not sure how much this has to do with basketball right now. So for the vsubs, what that allows you to do is that allows you to basically do like a virtual mapping. So if you all agree on a drive letter and a directory structure, you can all create the same folder mapping so that when you open Unreal Engine, especially because Unreal Engine doesn't handle, I'm pretty sure is it Unreal Engine or was it Maya? Maya does relative drives. It's Unreal Engine I don't think did. Or you had to set it in your settings. Basically, the bottom line is you want the pathing to be the same because you don't want missing links. when you're working like this is all. Okay. I'm not sure if Jackson's really paying attention to the overall theme of the chat, but that's okay. We're just gonna skip those because we're focused on game dev, everybody. Okay, so hopefully that helps out, Alexander. Diamond, I didn't think you had any questions that I saw so far. Okay, cool. All right, so back to this. Basically what we've got now is we've got our ability that's being committed, and once it gets committed, we're still doing our prints right now because we're still in the middle of debugging this. Then we're applying this immunity to ourselves, and we're storing the gameplay effect as a gameplay effect immunity handle, and then in the end we're basically removing this, or we were. I was just in the middle of testing it, so let's just double check this. What I wanted to see was all right, let's just check to see that our parry is working. Okay, so if we come in here and we hit parry, okay, that's working, but you'll notice that it stops working. Why does it stop working? So as long as I'm parrying and I hit the timing of it right, it works out pretty well. Not perfect, but pretty well. So this is our usual breakpoint. Let's take a look and let me show you why that's happening. All right, so first off, our gameplay effect, what we did is we changed our gameplay effect, and our gameplay effect now for our first we created a damage immunity for parry because I needed to be able to separate it specifically. And what I did is I changed our duration, and our duration now is 1 second. So there's not a whole lot of like smart, yeah, of course, Jackson, you can ask questions. There's not a whole lot of smart tracking of the ability or the immunity and taking it off or anything. It's just a 1 second immunity if you hit parry key. So that's awesome. Actually, one of the races for this game, I'm going to take that question. I'm going to find a way to tie that in. So one of the races for this game is, I think I have in the initial launch for this, I'm looking at 12 different races, I believe I have, and one of them is a lizard race. All right. So the reason this works is we're applying the gameplay effect, and when we apply the gameplay effect, what ends up happening is it just applies it for 1 second. And 1 second has the feel of about right. So we're not doing anything fancy as far as removing this gameplay effect or anything like that. And that is working. One of the things that I did notice, so we can kind of remove some of these prints. Let's remove these prints. Okay, and one of the things, let's see here, I'm gonna keep these in the wings just for a little bit because I'm not totally convinced that my 1 second feels okay is necessarily the best way to go with this right now, but we're just going to keep it there. And then we have our gameplay effect. Okay, cool. So let's go back. We know we're parrying. I don't think we need this. Yeah, we don't need that anymore because we're just applying parry all the time, so we don't need this print string. All right, so here we go. We don't need this either. Oh yeah, we do. We do need that. Bring that back. We don't need this. And then we're playing our montage. We're coming through. We're doing all the stuff. That's fine. A little bit messy, but we'll clean that up later. And then what we want to do is we'll keep our controller. We're going to keep this off in the wings for 1 second. Okay, so that's cool. So now we can parry. Now, I'm trying to learn the UI pipeline in Unreal. What's the difference between using canvas versus overlay? Canvas gives you the ability to place the things specifically. Overlay is just a border. It's just a container. Okay, interestingly enough, oh, our parry does not stop the shield damage. Look at that. Look at that. Yeah, I'm good. Now here's the problem. I can't strike. I'm parrying, but I don't have time to strike. Okay, well maybe I do. I have to wait till they finish their combo. Oh no, I broke out of my, I'm gonna win this. I'm gonna win this. Patience. Oh, I didn't win. I didn't win. I thought, look at how much health he had left. There was nothing. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about another issue I discovered here that we just saw. I'm gonna switch to the gun. Cheat a little bit here. Wow, that dude's moving. Let's switch back to the sword. Oh, breakpoint. Oh no. Oh no. I have my controller. The problem is I have no way to parry with my controller. No, I don't want to emote. I need the gun. Okay, here. Okay, cool. Oh, not quite there. One more shot. All right. So now. Oh, interesting. That's true. Okay, so now he's changed. So the enemy is running away from me because they're in flee mode, like because they're not healthy. But the difference is now, for some reason, our enemy, command message, command update status. Oh, I don't think I have my perforce open. For some reason, when they're fleeing, they're not attacking. Like no matter, like as close. Usually, it used to be that if I stood right next to the character, if I was in range, they would attack as they ran. But now they're not doing that. So we changed something in our behavior tree where they attack while they run. With the sword, it doesn't look as weird. But when they have a gun and they're running away and they're not shooting at you, it's kind of weird. So let's take a look at a couple things. First, let's double check that our perforce is, yeah, it's not logged in. Okay, and then let's save this. So we got our parry working, that's kind of cool. Now let's take a look at our behavior trees. And we're going to take a look at, also we have the second, I finally got the second visual scripting foundations crash course done. So that should be out either today or tomorrow. Just as a heads up, I've been having crazy technical difficulties because my computer's so old it can't handle the resolutions that allow you all to read the text properly. So it's been fun. All right, so here's our flee BP, and that class is all about variables. Aha! So look at this. So what's happening is, actually this may be super easy to fix. When we were doing our testing, when our character is in flee mode, or when the enemy is in flee mode, we were just testing the attack. You'll notice that there is also this other version over here that has the melee in it. And I believe if we take a look at our attack, I was having issues getting transporter work. It's turned out it was a mesh from a marketplace download. Okay, that's kind of weird. So Diamond's asking, by the way, the reason I repeat these questions is because we're streaming to 2 different platforms, and I haven't figured out how to combine the chats yet, so apologies. So They're having troubles getting a transporter working as mesh from the marketplace that had collision built in that was keeping my character from transporting. That sounds weird. Only because if there's a mesh that's keeping your character from transporting, I would think that mesh, it's almost like it's a collision mesh, maybe. And what is potentially happening is, let's just say it's a mesh. What I would expect is that mesh is preventing your character from even stepping onto the transporter, which is why you can't transport. But the weird thing about that is, usually with something like that, there's an overlap event. Using it as a ring the character had to go through. Yes, collision. Okay, so the ring, I guess what I'm trying to understand is, usually there's an overlap event that happens when you do something like trigger a transporter or door or anything like that. And in that case, my question would be, are you actually triggering the overlap event, or is your ring causing the problem? Yeah, well, you can always just, so first off, if you are triggering overlap, even with the ring that was blocking in there, I would think that's weird. Something's going on. But if you swapped it with one you made and it works, that's probably cool. And I would guess the difference is that the collision settings for the ring mesh, if you take a look at those, you can just turn off. What you can do is you can turn off collision and only do query instead. And then it'll still trigger your overlap, but it won't block. But it's usually something in your collision settings. And if you need help finding those, it seems like you may have found them if you swapped it with one that you did. All right, so here's our enemy fight behavior tree. Yes, we're using melee. Ah, okay. So let's take a look at where you find collisions. So let's open up a katana. I believe I have a katana sword in here. The reason I'm picking this is because I just know where it is right away. And so we have a static mesh. This one is not checked in right now. But in here, if I dock this, over on the right in the details, you'll find this collision section. And under collision, usually under collision presets, a static mesh, when you import it, will often just block all. And as a result of that, that means your pawn can't walk through it, nothing works, etc. So what you'll need to do, and this can get funky because if you change this, usually what you can do is you can do block all, no collision, but it sounds like what you want is you want overlap all, where what it will do is it will actually overlap, but it won't actually block. And you'll notice that over here on the right, down below this whole section that's grayed out, this is where you could set your own specific ones. You can pick what it is, but look at the difference between block all, where you can see there's 3 columns in here. You have ignore, overlap, and block. If I set block all, you'll notice that everything gets checked in the block column, even though it's grayed out, so it's not being used. Or if I go to overlap all, it unchecks everything in the block column and just sets ignore and only overlaps instead. So by changing these settings, that's how you can deal with your collision stuff. And those are available in every static mesh, every skeletal meshes have them. Even I think engine meshes have them too. Okay, so it did look like the melee was what we are using. Oh, what did I just press? So let's take this and paste this in here. Okay, so now we're going to retest our wow, I'm so bad at my game. Oh, that sucks. Okay. Yeah, no worries. Okay, let's try this again. Without killing the enemy. I need a few more debug options for my game. I need the ability to instant damage enemies or set their damage levels, things like that. Okay, so he's weak. He's running. Okay, now when he runs, he attacks. If I'm too close. So we fix that. So he's gonna run away because he doesn't know what else to do, but if I get too close, he does swipe. Interesting thing though is when he does the attack, he attacks in whatever direction he's facing. So we probably want to change that so that he'll turn to face the enemy as part of the melee. I think that's a reasonable thing. So let's see if we can add that. So to do that, oh, this is actually going to be a little tricky. The reason this is tricky is because when we basically what's happening is the way this subtree works is, by the way, am I yelling you all? Is the mic audio okay? The way this works is ignoring all of these behavior tree services. What we have is we're setting a state, we're checking our health, or we're looking for health, and then we're finding cover positions and random patrol locations, and then we're moving to those and we're waiting. Okay, very cool, thank you. So while we're doing everything down here, what's happening is these behavior tree services are triggering, and they're triggering based on the timing that you set for each of them. And one of them that is triggering is melee, but melee isn't actually, I don't believe melee actually turns and faces the character. So if we take a look at our BTS melee, this is our behavior tree service. It gets the value as an object, it gets the liar, casts the character, and it simply tries to activate abilities by tag. It does nothing to face the closest enemy or anything like that. What we could try in here is we could try, do we have the blackboard? Yes, we do. We have the blackboard. We could, I think we could try to set focus here. If this is true. Let's try, I think all we would have to do is set focus. So let's try that, set focus. Okay, so that's not what we want. We want our, let's see if we have a set focus. There it is, you saw it, set focus. So we're gonna set focus off of our controller. And we're going to set our focus to be off of our blackboard. We have our target enemy. Interesting. It's not compatible with an object actor reference. This is an object. Cast to actor, here we go. We can get this. Okay, we are definitely going to be cleaning up this blueprint. But let's just compile and see if that works. It compiled. That's cool. So let's see about if this is going to work now. So we're going to damage this character. Easy. Okay, hold on. That should be enough. Oh, maybe not. Reload, please. Why is he still chasing me? Okay, so now he's running away. So we're back to where we were. If I get too close, oh, look at that. I think that's working now. Oh, that looks much better. Because before we were able to sneak. Oh yeah, look at that. That's great. So if I get too close, even though he's running away, he'll turn to face me now when he does his sword swipes, which is cool. That's great. That feels way better. He feels much smarter. Okay. So we've implemented parry. We've got our melee attacks working. Our runaway stuff still works. He's lost. He's confused as to where to go because there is no health packs, so it doesn't have anything to pick up. And he's just going to continually try to find positions that are away from me. So that's why he's just continually running away. I think at this point, we might be back to trying to play our game again. What time is it? Man, it's only 30 minutes in. Okay. So let's go. Let's see what we fix next. If y'all don't have any more questions. So we'll bring back we're gonna try our 3v3 and see what feels right. So this is going to be 3 enemies. I know what we need to do next. I have a pretty good idea. Oh, I know. Yeah, I definitely know what we need to do next. I don't even need to be back 3v3. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Okay, if we are playing and we're using our swords, the problem is, as I'm parrying, I want to be able to dash. Like, I want to be able to... Oh, dude, I just dashed onto that damage thing. Okay, I think we can get rid of this for now. We can bring that back later. Okay. Another way to explain the current problem, or what's happening, is if I attack, I can't move. I'm move blocked the whole time. So if I want to attack and then try to get away, I can't. There's no like move dash. And I'm basically locked into, especially my power attack, I can't move that entire time. I think that feels bad. I think I want to be able to cancel it. And this is the part where we get to the stumbling, because I don't know how to do that. Let me show you what I'm talking about. So if we look at our power combo, well, at least I don't know how to do that if we're not at work, is probably a good way to say that. Okay, so if we look at our power combo, here's what's happening. We come in here, we activate the ability, we commit the ability, and then we basically, if it's a shooter Mannequin, we determine our combo phase and we play this montage and wait. But what happens is, determine the ability, play the montage and wait. The minute we do that, we set ignore move input. And by doing that, we can no longer move. And I think we no longer get inputs on our keyboard. And we can test this even without an enemy in our scene, just simply so we're not running away, and we can simplify our testing. Let's get rid of our enemy. If I press play, if I sit here and I right combo and I'm pressing the right arrow, nothing happens. So let's disconnect that real quick. Let's skip this and see if that brings back the ability to move in the middle of our combo. Yeah, so see, now I can move in the middle of my attacks, but it's weird. What I want is I want the move to interrupt the attack, not to cause the character to slide across the screen. So we have to figure out how to fix this. And oh, I just had an idea. Oh no, I didn't. I thought I had an idea. So if we set ignore move input, we don't get it back until we set it back at the end of the ability. Whereas what we want to do is we only want to ignore okay. I think what we want to do is, let's take a look at our hero shooter mannequin. We need to see how this is implemented. We come back here, we go to hero shooter mannequin. This is, where's our inputs? That's jump detection. Okay, cycle 4, these are quick bar slots. Parts changes and shields. I haven't actually looked to see where WASD is in this. That's begin play. Enhanced input. Combo attack. Okay, so I don't see this here. So let's check the controller. Let's take a look at our reference viewer. Holy smokes, this thing is used everywhere. Connectors, gameplay abilities, this thing is used everywhere. Okay, let's try that a different way. Let's check for our controller. And the one we're looking for is, that's interesting. Where's our player controller? I've noticed that my searches are no longer searching in the plugin folder for some reason, and I'm not sure why that is. Top level. Lyra control. Game control points, AI controller. Holy smokes. We need to find... We have our AI controllers. Where's our possession? Possessed. Find references. Volumetric paint player controller. Elimination. Scoring widget. AI controller. Pawn changed. I want to look at this. Unpossessed pawn change. Old pawn, new pawn. Get the owning player. Get the controlled pawn. This is weird because I'm surprised that we can't find this. Whereas I feel like I've seen this before somewhere. Shooter game scoring base. Shooter 1 teams, 2 teams. We're doing 2 teams. Teams to create, red and blue. And it's going to spawn those things. Team red. These are the properties for team red. That's not it. I wonder if this is in code. Let's take a quick look. Okay. So under our Solutions Explorer, player controller.h. Okay, so this is our player controller. And what it does is on begin play, it sets it hidden in game. Receives a player. This is our tick. Our Lyra ability system controller. But this is basically this is a Lyra player controller. And for some reason we cannot find anything that is a Lyra player. Yeah, I don't see that. Okay. So how would a Lyra player controller get spawned then, y'all? Or a Lyra player controller. Enemy, hero jump, nameplates, AI controllers, find weapons, throw grenades, beam cannons, finding health. Whoa, this is all in code. Holy smokes. So if we do a search for this, and we look inside here, there's got to be something in the game mode that is spawning the players. Sorry, I'm just looking through to find where this is. Find next, find next. This is all in the player controller. We're still in player controller. Okay, so cheat manager. I feel like I just went into the weeds and I didn't even really want to. Player state. Player controller. Lyra game. Lyra ability we knew about. Lyra game. Wait, did I just see that? Lyra game mode? Lyra character. Oh, interesting. Is that what it is? Lyra character. Simple pawn data. Ability sets. Nope. My goodness. So let's take a look at the game mode. Game modes. Lyra game mode. Request player restart next frame. Okay. Player can restart. Okay, so this is a bunch of it happening. Is the experience loaded? Restart. Find a player, new start. Here we go. Restart our NPCs. On experience loaded. We're going to go through our player controllers, iterator, and we're going to restart the player. So this is where it's spawning it. But what it isn't telling me. So the way Lyra works is it seems pretty complicated for what it's trying to do. I think there are easier ways to show people how this stuff is done, but they're trying to do it the right way. So the way Lyra works is the starter pack is nothing is kind of built as one piece. Everything is modular. What that means is when they start the game, they're not spawning a controller that you can find, and the controller doesn't have a skeletal mesh associated with it or a pawn associated with it that has skeletal mesh. Instead, they're spawning a controller that's waiting, and then when the experience starts, they load the character, the pawn, but then the pawn doesn't have any of the visuals with it. Those are all loaded by a cosmetics component, and the cosmetics component is all loaded by a data-driven asset. So finding this stuff in Lyra compared to some of the previous examples is a lot more convoluted. I think ultimately the whole reason why I switched to a Lyra baseline was one, to learn kind of a little bit more about how they were doing things on Fortnite, but also to kind of wrap my head around the modularity, because I think that will eventually be important. Like let's fast forward. Let's fast forward to the point where one day I have a working prototype, one level that we can all play together. At that point, performance is going to start to become an issue because the number of characters that I want on screen is pretty high. And I would hate to get to the point where I finally get it all deployed, we can play together, and then I have to go back to the drawing board simply because I wasn't implementing ways in... there's a lot of things. One is performance. Two is, in a server authoritative way to help with cheating and anti-cheating and stuff like that. And all of these things are factored into the Lyra implementation, which is why I'm taking the time to stumble through this, as painful as it is sometimes. Player state default pawn class is a Lyra character, and the player controller class. So basically, the player controller class gets set here. There's no more occurrences in here. I don't think I'm going to find what I'm looking for here. I think there's a better way to do this. All right, one of the reasons I was looking for how this works. Yep, exactly, baby steps. All right, so let's recenter on what I was doing. I was trying to figure out how WASD was implemented, and I do know that. I do know that that is implemented with the keyboard mouse stuff. And so if we look at the keyboard mouse stuff for the default, we'll notice that move is set up as an IA move, and this is an input action for move, and here's our WASD keys. Cool. So let's take a look at our input action for move. If we open this up, nothing crazy. There's just modifiers and stuff on that. But what would potentially help us find this a little bit better would be taking a look at our references for this. So who is using this move? Our input data for the hero is using that. And I think that's the primary one. So let's take a look at that. So here's our input data for the hero. And what we've got is move up here. Native input actions, move, input action. Here's our input tag move. Let's search for references for this. Nothing. Well, there's got to be somewhere that this is being used. Native input actions, input action move. Okay, let's do this. Let's do a search for input action move. It's not in here. It's not in any blueprint. How does this character move? This seems like a baby step that we need to take. Like, how does our character move? Y'all, like, what's... The movement component. Player controller. Movement. Movement direction. Player tick. Movement direction is equal to movement rotation just from the forward vector. Add movement, movement direction. If we are auto running, then add some player input. Oh, but that's not what we're doing. We're not auto running. Cast a check. Let's do a search for this. And I want to look in specifically these files. Hero component. Interesting. Didn't even know about the hero component. Look at this. Holy smokes, I think we found it. Okay, so unbeknownst to me, somewhere we're adding a hero component. If players didn't move again, then cancel auto running. And we have an input move. And if we have a controller, we get our X and Y from an input action value. And our input action value is where? It comes from input move. Okay, so where is this being called? Bind native action, input move, input move. Okay, so our this is a hero component. All right, let's see if we can find that. That would be on the pawn. Should be on the pawn, I would think. Oh no. This is another thing that Lyra does. Oh my goodness. Okay. Let me see if I can... One of the things that they do is... So, in addition to everything being modular, when I say everything is modular, I mean everything is modular. The ability system, the ability sets that are granted are modular, but so are the components that get added. And there is somewhere in here, hero, data, World War shooter, I think this is it. Input data hero comes from our input config. So this is this is where the character is getting modularized, where it chooses the pawn class, the ability set, relationships, input data, hero. Input data, hero. This is just, that's where the movement stuff is coming from. Okay. Now, there is a place where this component is getting added as well. Hero component. Nope. Let's try searching in a blueprint. I think it's called hero component. Search everywhere. Nothing. Of course not. So let's go back to this. And what we're looking for is where this gets added. So to do that, let's do a search for this. So let's see here. Starter game. Lyra hero component. Lyra gameplay ability. Game feature action add binding. That's interesting. So is this where it happens? Game features, Lyra hero component. Okay, so this is where it's doing the input bindings based on the hero components. Oh, you know what? It might be in the plugin. Oh, I'm trying to rack my brain as to how this works. There's somewhere there is a list of, I think it might be in the plugins. There's a list of extra components that get added to your character. Ability sets. Ability sets. Oh gosh, it's almost... It's been so long since I looked at this. I believe it was a data asset. Alright, so let's try this. Data asset. Combat gym. Is this it? Team purple, team blue, top down. Let's take a look and see if this is it. Combat gym. Loading. Nope, that's not it. Front end. Shooter gym. This is our shooter hero ability set. Okay, another way to find this. Let's look for M-Man. Because this dude is being used in one of these things, I think. Oh no, this is just being used for the blueprint. Recenter. Load character cosmetics. Edit. Yeah, this is just loading character cosmetics. Oh my gosh. We know what we're looking for. We just don't know where it is. Well, let's just assume that that is where it's getting done. So inside our hero component, basically, input tag pressed. Ability input tag. Okay, I did not think we were going to be digging into this today, but let's just put a breakpoint right here. Okay, and what we're going to do is we're going to just debug this and see how we get here. Here's our spawn point. We have no enemies. If I press play, I'm not actually moving, so I'm not hitting a breakpoint. Okay, the minute I press the W key, it hits our input move. Now, why is this cool? Because what we can do is we can, one, see what our action value is. So our action value is coming in as a vector. And the vector we're getting is, because I only pressed W, I didn't press anything else. And so what we're getting is, we're getting an X of 0, a Y of 1, because it's going to be forward. Because remember, Unreal Z's up. Okay? So we're definitely getting our input action value of forwards, basically, is what it equates to. And then we can see who's calling this. And who is calling this is Enhanced Input Action Event Delegate Binding from the A Modular Player Controller Player Tick. This is the Unreal Modular Gameplay Actor A Modular Player Controller Player Tick. And then in the A Lyra Player Tick, okay, so then we can go back in time. I didn't think this was actually getting called in here. I'm gonna put a breakpoint here as well, because I don't think this is getting called. So we're gonna just let this run, and we're going to do that again, because we're trying to eliminate variables. Okay, so if I press W again, okay, so even though we're coming through here, as I expected, we're not actually doing anything in here. Oh, okay. So what's happening is, this is calling the super for the tick. And then we do player tick, which gets the modular components. And for each modular component, it ticks it. And so then what's happening is, inside of our enhanced input, we're executing that. This is more enhanced input. And then finally we're getting into our input move. And then inside of our move, if it's a Lyra player controller, which it is, we're not auto running. Oh no, this is gonna cancel auto running. Oh, okay. This is not where I was expecting to do this, but let me explain that epiphany I just had. The same way that if the player tries to move again, it cancels auto running. We could in code say that if the player tries to move again, it cancels any gameplay abilities. That might work. Okay, and then for the controller, it goes through and it does all of the different movements. Interesting. Is that really what we want to do? Okay. So let's just say, let's go back and escape. If we go back to what started this whole thing, it was that when we're in the power combo, if we don't do this disabling of input, what's happening is we're basically playing the montage and we're waiting. And what we're waiting for is we're waiting for a melee hit. Okay, I think I may have just thought of another thing that we could do. Broadcast cooldown, that's what that does. If we're in here, can we wait for input. Is there an input wait? Wait for... There's an input press. Wait for input. Hold on a second. I'm looking at another way. Basically what we're doing is wait for confirm input. Okay. So that look, so there's two places that we could potentially do this. Okay, one is in our input move, the same way that we're canceling sprint, we could also cancel any abilities that we're running right now. Wow. In general, I'm trying not to do too much in code just because it's easier to edit, but I am learning more about the code as we do this, I guess. But what I'm wondering though is the same way we're waiting for a gameplay event, in this case, the gameplay event of melee hit, what we could try is we could try to wait for a confirm input as well. So let's try this. So let's do this. We're gonna rewire this real quick. What time is it? Oh, technically we're past. So we'll do this real quick as a quick test, and if this works, then we'll wrap up. So all I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait for a confirm input, and then I'm going to go ahead and wait for the gameplay event. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a print string on this. Hello, sure, that's fine. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to play. And when we do our power combo, okay, it's normal. And we have our cooldown. And then what we want to do is while the power combo is going this time, I'm going to try to press W. But I don't get that. That doesn't trigger. And the way I know that's not triggering is because it's not printing. So I don't think we're actually hitting this. So we'll put a breakpoint there just in case. And then we'll do this. Yeah, we're not. Yeah, it's not hitting that. Okay, so that's not the input thing that we want. So let's do input. Wait for input press. Let's try this. And what we're going to do is on press, we'll do the hello. Okay, so let's just see if that works. It also does not work. So what I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to get it so that in addition to waiting for the gameplay event, we're waiting for input press. But it's almost like this isn't, what does this do? Wait until the user presses the input button for this ability's activation. Oh, that's not what we want. That's not what we want at all. Good thing we read the directions, people. Yeah, no worries, Diamond. I think we're at a good point where this is probably good to wrap this up because I do have to go to the day job. So let's go ahead and do that. So basically what we're doing is we're just trying to get to the point so that we hit a minimum bar of, everything feeling good. But we're only doing this in the absence of questions. So Diamond, Alexander, thanks for hopping in. Thanks for asking questions. It was good to see you all. I'm looking forward to your future UI questions. I've actually learned a bunch about UI just lately doing all the different stuff for this. Is again part of the reason why I do these streams, because I get a chance to learn a ton of stuff. And as always, if you have other questions and you can't make Sunday night, throw those in the comments. I can try to answer them in stream, and you can watch the stream after the fact or hop into next Wednesday. We should be back on schedule for Sunday nights and Wednesday mornings again. And as always, you know, if there's other things that you would like us to change or different formats or whatever, just hit me up and let me know. I'm also hoping to get a machine upgrade so I can get all of our video stuff back and we can get our production back. Keep an eye out. The next video in the visual scripting crash course is coming. It should be either today or tomorrow. And I will catch you all on the next stream. Take it easy. Have a great rest of your week, everybody. I'll see you hopefully all on Sunday night.